A more pertinent question to ask about the word woke might be, why in such a short time has it gone from a rallying cry to a pejorative? If the word only made you think of rational, deserved causes like teaching a less whitewashed version of American history, AOC would still want to own it. But it's a joke, because it makes you think of people who wake up offended and take orders from Twitter, and their oversensitivity has grown tiresome.
Maher unleashed a searing critique of the Democratic Party, slamming its failure to rein in the woke faction that has plagued it for the past decade. He argued that, given this radical wing's key role in last year's election loss, the DNC should have already created some distance. Instead, the party continues pandering to the far-left fringe, driving itself deeper into political irrelevance. Maher's verbal strike was so sharp, it sent shockwaves through the DNC. Let's break it down.
But you never hear anyone bragging about being a liberal. There's no liberal Bob Schmohawk as a liberal who wants to enact more liberal policies. Democrats might want to think about what that means, because the implication is you're embarrassed by what liberalism has become, that the term is now irredeemably coupled with woke nonsense, which is a shame, because despite their nonsense, it's still generally a better product. But what does it say about your brand if you don't want to say what you are?
Maher took aim at the DNC for what he described as a chronic identity crisis. He argued that Democrats seem almost embarrassed by their own political legacy, constantly apologizing for the past instead of owning it. By contrast, Maher pointed out that Republicans fully embrace their roots. They proudly call themselves conservatives and never miss an opportunity to say it out loud. Agree with them or not, the GOP projects confidence in its values. The DNC, on the other hand, appears stuck in a cycle of self-doubt, trying to please everyone while losing sight of its core identity. Maher's message was unmistakable. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. In today's polarized political climate, a party weighed down by perpetual shame is bound to keep losing to one that wears its convictions like armor.
What does it say about your brand if you don't want to say what you are? So much of liberal politics nowadays is identity politics, and yet it seems we found the one thing liberals won't identify as: liberals.
Now, let's pause for a moment, because Maher's point really lands. Today's liberals seem eager to champion every marginalized group imaginable, no matter how obscure, as long as it signals moral superiority. They'll rush to defend every trending ideology on social media, even when it's hollow, contradictory, or poorly thought out. Yet when it comes to defending liberalism itself, they suddenly fall silent. It's as if they're afraid of their own philosophy, terrified of being labeled intolerant or out of touch. Instead of standing firm on core principles like free speech, open debate, and individual liberty, the very foundations of liberal thought, they've become prisoners of political correctness. Maher's critique resonates because it's true. Modern liberals don't debate anymore. They cancel, they conform, and they hide behind hashtags instead of ideas. And that, Maher warns, is why they keep losing cultural ground.
James Carville knew how to win, and he blamed the Democratic losses this November 2nd on stupid wokeness, to which AOC fired back that wokeness is a term almost exclusively used by older people these days. So that should tell you all you need to know. What? This is a term folks like you brought out very recently and had been proudly displaying at every march since. Just last year, The Guardian declared woke the word of our era. I guess they didn't get the memo from the Mean Girls Club. We don't use that emoji anymore. Woke, please. We say fetch now.
This is genuinely fascinating. The woke crowd is now running from the very label it once celebrated. Not long ago, they couldn't stop proclaiming it, wearing woke like a badge of moral superiority. Social media was flooded with hashtags, lectures, and self-congratulatory posts, all insisting they were more enlightened, evolved, and compassionate than everyone else. Now, they're quietly distancing themselves, pretending the word never existed, or claiming it was somehow misused by critics. It's remarkable how quickly a movement abandons its own branding when it becomes inconvenient. The same crowd that once wielded the term to shame others is now scrambling as it backfires in spectacular fashion. Maher's point lands perfectly. If your beliefs can't survive your own slogans, the problem isn't the word, it's the ideology behind it.
What a great strategy, never missing an opportunity to remind voters how lame and clueless and hopelessly uncool they are, especially since those are the ones who actually vote. But okay, fine. What word would you like us to use for the plainly insane excesses of the left that are not liberalism, but something completely different. Because you can't have that word liberal from us and think it should cover things like canceling Lincoln and teaching third graders their oppressors. That's all your new thing.
There's something almost poetic about the woke crowd now treating the word woke as offensive and sprinting away from it. But here's the real twist. They aren't abandoning the ideology at all. They're just rebranding it. The ideas remain exactly the same. That men can become women, that men can get pregnant, that hiring and promotion should prioritize skin color over competence. The only thing that's changed is the label. Woke has been scrubbed away and replaced with softer, more palatable terms, all in the hope that no one notices. Make no mistake, the mindset is still there, anti-common sense, anti-reality, and completely detached from the everyday lives of ordinary people. They may have ditched the name, but they haven't abandoned the absurdity. As Maher would put it, changing the term doesn't solve the problem. It just makes the hypocrisy easier to conceal.
If the word only made you think of rational, deserved causes like teaching a less whitewashed version of American history, AOC would still want to own it. But it's a joke, because it makes you think of people who wake up offended and take orders from Twitter, and their oversensitivity has grown tiresome. That said, I would love to have AOC on this show.
Beyond their rejection of basic common sense, the woke crowd appears locked in a permanent state of outrage. Nothing ever seems to satisfy them. When the present offers nothing to be offended by, they comb through centuries of history, searching for a quote, a statue, or a painting to ignite their next moral crusade. Victimhood has become a full-time pursuit, and once they find something that offends their fragile sensibilities, it isn't debated, it's canceled. Great historical figures, artists, and thinkers are erased because their words or beliefs fail to meet modern Twitter standards. Maher is spot on in calling out this hysteria. This isn't progress, it's regression. A society that constantly rewrites its past to avoid discomfort isn't enlightened, it's fragile. And that fragility, Maher warns, is precisely what's eating away at the Democratic Party from the inside.
That said, I would love to have AOC on this show. There's so much to admire there. I was one of her first supporters for the Green New Deal idea. But that will probably never happen, because Democrats don't go anywhere these days where they're not pre-adored. And that's my last bit of advice to them. Go where the amen corner isn't. Do Fox News. Be brave. Come here. Go everywhere. Winning is about expanding the electorate.
It's hard to imagine Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez agreeing to an interview where her views are genuinely examined or challenged. Let's be honest, she prefers friendly interviewers who lob soft questions, giving her free rein to attack Republicans and Donald Trump. The moment the conversation moves beyond that, she suddenly becomes selective or too busy for media appearances. AOC represents exactly what's gone wrong with today's Democratic Party, a culture built around political comfort zones. The DNC increasingly engages only with networks that already agree with them, creating a safe echo chamber where tough questions aren't asked and accountability is never required. Maher's frustration with this mindset is understandable. A movement that can't defend its ideas outside its own bubble isn't confident, it's afraid. And fear, not conviction, now drives much of the Democratic conversation.
Democrats who 1 year from now will be licking their wounds and asking themselves how they could have lost the midterm so badly must instead ask themselves that question now. Now. You know, now. Like, while there's still time to do something about it.
And I completely agree. Nearly a year after their election defeat, Democrats are still failing to gain real traction in the polls. Despite relentless media spin and political theater, they haven't convinced voters they're capable of handling the nation's biggest challenges. Meanwhile, Trump continues to dominate the conversation on core issues: the border, the economy, national security, and America's standing in the world. Whatever you think of his personality, Trump has an instinctive grasp of what matters most to everyday Americans. His popularity may rise and fall, but his command of the issues driving national concern remains firm. Voters may not always like his tone, but they trust his toughness. And that's something Democrats still haven't figured out how to counter, because slogans and carefully crafted talking points can't compete with policies that genuinely resonate.
A couple of weeks ago, Amy Klobuchar was here, and when I suggested the Democrats need a messaging czar, she offered me the job. Well, you need a messaging czar in your party.
You think it should be you?
Amy, I'm flattered. But after careful consideration, I must decline. The hours it would take me away from home would make it very difficult on my family. But I will tonight, once again, break out my coach hat and try to point the Democrats in the right direction. That's all I can do.
Maher is absolutely right. The DNC is in desperate need of a messaging czar because right now its communication strategy is a complete mess. Ask voters what Kamala Harris's core message was during the 2024 campaign, and most would struggle to name one. It was scattered, inconsistent, and fixated on appeasing the fringe left instead of speaking to mainstream America. The party appeared far more invested in virtue signaling than in offering practical, relatable solutions to real problems. What Democrats need now is someone who can restore clarity, coherence, and conviction to their message. Someone who can translate complex policies into plain language that resonates with working families, middle America, and independent voters. Until they learn to connect with everyday Americans, no amount of hashtags, slogans, or celebrity endorsements will save them. In politics, if your message doesn't land, nothing else truly matters.
Liberals think this country is full of dumb white people, but in our democracy, dumb white people make up a substantial portion of the vote. The median voter is a white person in their 50s who didn't go to college, their favorite TV show is NCIS, and their pronouns are what? I don't know what the you're talking about, and get away from me. In 2008, Republicans only won 4 Virginia counties by more than 70%. This month, in the governor's election there, they did it in 45 counties. And this is what a lot of Democrats were told was the reason for that. Glenn Youngkin's win proves white ignorance is a powerful weapon. Racism still works in Virginia. It's not the messaging, folks. This country simply still loves white supremacy.
This kind of messaging is exactly what has dragged the DNC into its current mess, a tone-deaf, self-righteous narrative that blames everyone except itself. Woke talking points frame every problem in America as the fault of conservatives, corporations, the media, or some vague systemic injustice, while conveniently ignoring the party's own failures. Whenever Democrats lose an election or slip in the polls, they rush to find scapegoats instead of accepting responsibility. Maher's frustration cuts straight to the core of the problem. The DNC has become addicted to deflection. Rather than engaging in honest self-reflection or meaningful course correction, they double down on the same exhausted rhetoric. Until Democrats own their mistakes and reconnect with reality, they'll keep watching their credibility and their voter base steadily erode. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.